Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships in Mountain Range and Arms Race, as we are indeed in randoms battles with a full 12v12 lineup, as the enemy team has 2 submarines as well as we have 2 submarines. And this is going to be a game of throws. Which way it will go will be for you to see. And I'm not titling this video a game of throws, even though it very much is that. You know, Jingles owns the space in real estate in my mind on that, so I won't touch something that is very fondly we in the Wilds community acknowledge is Jingles. Unlike other YouTube content creators I know, I will not be titling the video as such, so don't know what I'm going to title it yet, but it ends up being like a really close game that has a couple of cliffhanger moments when you think, oh, it's over. And maybe not so cliffhanger moments, but there's definitely 2 in particular cliffhanger moments where or 3 where you think the game's just over and it turns out like it's not. And so it goes on. So I'm having some fun in the chat. Literally a noob. I spoke with this fine chap the other day. As I messaged him after this game. He's in the Vermont enemy team. Him and I were on the same team before the match previous to this one, as well as the Kremlin on the enemy team, which you're gonna see. He's on our flank, who we were teasing because we were teasing him like, do you want to stand out anymore? Because he has this indigo bright green neon permanent camouflage, so it was kind of funny. So we're going to have some fun in chat throughout the game and not take ourselves too seriously. We're even to the point where I say, hey, let's just can we agree not to fight and let's just have some beers. I wasn't intending to do another review or another video with the Varese, the tier 10 Italian Battlecruiser experimental ship in the game, because as I covered last week, this ship is absolutely disgusting. Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. So basically you have 8 320mm guns in the center hull of the ship, and you're decked out with strong sap secondaries, which are going to do a lot of damage for us this game. So I'm just going to kind of begin to give more commentary on the game, not so much about the ship, even though I think the ship is absolutely disgusting. So we do get sap. We just did a 14.5k salvo to the enemy Des Moines, and also armor piercing. Now you might be wondering why I'm taking a little more damage here than I need to, and I'm going to start angling in slowly here. I'm trying to find that right angle because I'm just trying to have my secondaries going. And I'm baiting the Des Moines to be out in the open so our Wisconsin, who just fired that salvo, can finish him before the Des Moines runs around behind the island. So I was willing to basically sacrifice my hit points to get the Des Moines off the board here, even though we lost our destroyer on this flank instantly. But it could still be a pain for our submarine or even our Wisconsin. So I was basically trading my hit points, hoping the Wisconsin would clap him. He did do a lot of damage to him, but it wasn't the kill shot, if you will. So when we utilize the island coverage here in the game, if you're in a brawling ship, you really want to try to isolate one-on-one engagements as much as possible. So we're going to be trying to do exactly that, here at this Des Moines. I was hoping he would come out just enough for my main battery I could get fired off, but I'm only getting 1 turret off here in between those islands, and it doesn't even touch. The dispersion on the main battery guns really sucks. It's not good. But now with that we have planes flying in on us, we have a skill that we run here on Sansonetti. It's the A Defense ASW Expert, which gives us negative 50% ship consumable preparation reload time. So between, was it Louisiana that bombed us, and then we also have this battleship out here. It's brand new, the Wilhelm die Erste, however you want to say it. Is going to be dropping airstrikes, 15-kilometer airstrikes on myself, but also this Wisconsin. Basically, we're going to be able to get our heals and consumables back faster. I'm also trying to angle out a bit more with the Kremlin, as well as the Wilhelm die Erste, because he's interested. He's focusing us. There's a submarine that's spotting us. I mean, we don't have a really long main battery range. It's 18.4. If with Sanzanetti, if we get a kill, of course, we can extend the main battery range out, which is, what is that? That skill is called Far Reach, which extends your main battery range out by plus 8%. So part of the gimmick with this boat is, of course, the heavy repair team. So with the planes are activating, our heals coming off cooldown faster, and I want to get another heal off before I effectively go push the Kremlin. So we're not in a rush here. The Wisconsin is playing smart. He's not yellowing in, and he just took a massive chunk because those that airstrike has 46mm pin on those high explosive bombs. So I'm going to be moving in such a way to keep the Wilhelm de Oeste from having a line of fire on us, except of course it's airstrikes because, you know, can drop it over anything. But at the same time, our main battery, we're going to have that more positioned here shortly to the enemy submarine, who's going to be kind of popping up and down. So we did like another 12k sap salvo to the Wilhelm de Oeste. We're trying out here on the Kremlin, and I'm going to launch some torps here just in case he decides to keep pushing up more aggro. We have 8-kilometer torps here to do decent damage. Actually, like really good because we take the what is it called, Pack-a-Punch for the secondary, but it's also plus 15% torpedo damage. So they will punch. I do make a mistake going up against the Kremlin. I'll talk about that here shortly. In the meantime, the sub's going to be popping in and out, so then we're basically trying to have our main battery positioned in that way, and with sap it'll do decent damage to the submarine, right, versus the armor piercing, because our submarine is also kind of playing spotting. They're playing, you know, how do you want to call it? I forget the children's game in English what it's called, but he pops up again. So I'm going to go ahead and throw out an ASW airstrike range anyhow, just he's moving. Sometimes submarines would players will juke and try to stop, right? But a key area is going to appear in a minute. And I still, he was going down and he was coming back up, which is why I was rotating my main battery guns, because he still has diving capacity, as you can see there, just under half. So I don't know why he decided to resurface there, but he does. And then now we have an airstrike here to contend with. And so this is where I make my mistake. Rather than hanging on to the torpedoes, I just try to go ahead and get them off early, which honestly it ends up being a bad play. I don't remember if I end up landing one of them. We only get 3 torps, but we're going to switch to armor piercing so we can do a bit of a drive-by action on the Kremlin. So these are 320mm guns. The armor piercing on these bad boys, remind myself here, they do 8,300, right? So I'm having to angle my armor. You know, we could have already got our torpedoes off now to help us out here. I hold my shot, and we just, you know, did 8 citadels. So, you know, 8 times 8,300 is what we just did. Not enough to kill him, but our Wisconsin is clutch. He's going to help us out here. And the same way he's going to help us out with this Wilhelm de Oeste. So it works out really good tag teaming with him. Meanwhile, I mean, you can see when you look at the scoreboard, I mean, we're only down 4 ships. Enemy team is down 7. They still have 5 at play. So, I mean, by all aspects, we're doing quite good at this point, honestly. Quite impressive for our team so far. We have just under 100-point lead. You know, one of the things that our team's struggling with right now is the buffs. So you can see the enemy team has a lot of buffs. And every time you get a buff, you get 10 points. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. They got 70 points in the buffs, where we only got 20 points in the buff. But we do have 2 heals ticking for us, which is going to help us out here. We are going to take some damage here from that, but we're going to go ahead and activate our damage control party. So that's one of the challenges we're going to have here with the Wilhelm de Oeste, because it's kind of like a St. Vincent Duncan Hall in terms of the main battery layout. So when he finishes firing, you know, effectively, I can swing out and fire my main battery guns, keeping in mind that he has a ×3 reload with the buffs of this game mode of arms race. So we can be doing damage because all of his main battery guns are in the forward part of the ship. He doesn't have any rear main battery guns. But, I mean, he's firing again already. So the adrenaline rush and the reload buffs are really helping out. So I'm thanking the Wisconsin because he's really helping us out here. Because part of me, again, is I'm working in tandem with my battleship player. So if I can keep baiting this Wilhelm de Oeste to turn more broadside to me, to get his guns off, that gives an opening to the Wisconsin player, who can then in turn get maybe a deadly salvo in here. Now he fires a little bit early there. It would have been nice if he would have waited just for the Wilhelm de Oeste to make the swing here. And my game was kind of gimmicking here. I don't know what was exactly happening, but thankfully the secondaries are still going. And I'm like, I would have been nice to have gotten my main battery guns off just right there, but it doesn't happen. And I go ahead and full stop here, and I thought I was fine, and then I just die. So I don't know. I thought I had like a couple thousand hit points still left there, but because of the bug, like the information was not so great in terms of my hit point pool and giving me accurate information. So in the meantime, of me last time pointing out our team, we're now down to 6 ships. They're down to 4. Now, credit to the enemy team, both of their destroyers are still alive. And that's a really big thing, effectively here. The Wisconsin is already rotating to go help in mid, which is great. We've had our submarine taking the cap. But I think now, I don't remember if it's already now or just yet, it's going to be contested by one of the enemy destroyers, because you can see that smoke screen down there to the left, and Wisconsin is fishing for him with his ASW airstrike. The MVP of the enemy team is the Vermont on the other flank. He is going to be clutch for the team here, as I'm kind of looking at the lineup, and I was looking more about that HE bomb airstrike on that Dutch battleship. But the Vermont's going to be really clutch for his team. Our team makes a few mistakes here towards the end. I'll point those out and kind of give you more of my 2 cents. And there's also going to be some bad advice shared in chat to the Ohio's, because this guy says only Ohio in the Des Moines. But there's a Nevsky there who's kind of in this kiting position, as Nevsky players should. He's harassing the Montana. It's hard for the battleships at this point, because the destroyers, there's a Daring, and I think it's a Shimakaze, is really going to be difficult for him to not be really paranoid about what's happening here. But our 2 Ohio, one of our Ohio's has actually a lot of health. You see the second one there. The forward one, not as many hit points. The Vermont has, so the Ohio takes out the Nevsky there. But then the Vermont, he's still got a lot of hit points at play. Their team has 2 heals ticking for them, and the Vermont gets a 40-second cooldown time on his repair party, if not even less, if he has some certain commander skills. So those hit points Ohio had go down quickly, because he's taking torp hits here. But in chat, you can see Ohio, Des Moines need you in the cap. This is the dead guy speaking. That's the first tip, that sometimes the advice might always be good. But if they obey his advice, or they follow his bad advice, they're all going to be showing broadside to the Vermont as they sail towards the cap, which is really dumb and you shouldn't do. So I'm just trying to, wink, that they both would have to show broadside to the Vermont. Kind of dumb. Like, I'm not trying to sound like super rude by that. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. So our Shimakaze takes out, or the enemy Shimakaze takes out Wisconsin, the Vermont takes out the Ohio, and then our submarine takes out the enemy Shimakaze. So you can see now 2 versus 4, we're 900 points versus 240 points, right? So we did take the cap. I failed to point that out when it happened, but the enemy Daring is still on the cap, preventing any cap ticks. The enemy Daring has to be on the cap, because in a matter of seconds will win if he leaves the cap. But now he's going to go chasing our sub, which isn't great. Sub decides to resurface at a really bad time. Daring has the kilometer hydro, so guess what Daring's going to do? He's going to go chase down the submarine. So it would have been better for the submarine to stay outside the cap and try to get some spotting. The other bad thing that really happens here is both our Ohio and our Des Moines player are letting the Vermont heal up. They're letting him the buffs from the heal and his 40-second cooldown So you can see, I think already now, I believe the Vermont was already healing. I can't see on my screen. It's not fully blown up. But the Ohio takes a big punishing salvo here. Really sucks. He does have his. He also has a 40-second heal on the Ohio. Right, that's helpful here. And our Des Moines is going to come up here, and if the Des Moines can utilize the Ohio spotting as the enemy daring takes out our sub, it will work out in favor for Des Moines. But Ohio goes down. Our Des Moines is opening up, but then there's another forward main battery, I'm guessing, of the Vermont that overmatches the bow, and he goes down. And I was trying to politely say, you know, it felt like our Montana was taking a long time to fire because I think he's a bit paranoid with the submarine or the daring, and he was trying to help out our sub. I'm like, no, now's the time that Montana needs to take out the Vermont, because Vermont's going to go dark here unless Vermont keeps opening up, and Vermont's going to be able to heal up again. So that's not great. And, you know, now we have this guy who's giving bad advice saying, now we lose. That's yet to be decided. Of course, what's happening right now is not favorable for our team, but it doesn't mean necessarily the game's over yet. Like, it feels at certain moments that, you know, for this player, it's like, the game's over now, right? I still understand it could go either way. The daring decides to launch his torps at range, which actually works in favor. It would have been better if, now wait for this, it would have been better if the daring had actually torpedo rushed the Montana, because he can single launch, he can conga line his torpedoes. But the Montana is doing the right thing here now, that he's getting in the cap. Other thing is he's going to put an island between himself and the enemy Vermont, and that's going to be really helpful. So the Montana needs to be having high explosive loaded now. So that's going to be the wise decision. Like, in this situation, when you're down to a destroyer, like, the cap's so small, it keeps shrinking. So it puts people together closer and closer. With the 12 guns, 12 406s, you know, Montana could possibly yoink the daring depending on how many shells he lands. So at this point, you know, the enemy Vermont's fun game. 25-second Vermont reload is funny, and I was like, you know, and then before that, I was like, you know, we could have had beers, sad face, lol. So indeed, it's been a fun game so far. And now daring does the YOLO. Now the daring messes up here, and I instantly see that he has, because there's an arming range to your torpedoes. Montana's too close. If daring drops torpedoes now, only till it gets a little bit further away. You know, there, one torpedo arms and hits. You know, now if daring drops any more torps, they will go off. But I think there's the other wreck. I wasn't sure if Montana busted or temporarily incapacitated. But Montana's going to eat some more torps here. Daring is saved by his heal, and also the heal that's ticking via the gimmick arm race mode. But daring is now off the cap. So here comes the points. We're going to tick up really fast. So 830, 840, 850, 860, 870. It ticks really, really, really fast. And now I'm going to try to give advice to Montana to stay behind the island. I didn't really get enough time to say why exactly. Basically, that he doesn't pull out and Vermont get his broadside. That's what I'm concerned about. He just needs to stay behind the island and we'll win. 960, 970. Oh, he spotted. Vermont salvo out. 980, 990. Ooh, victory. Oh, almost died. And he takes out the daring, who couldn't get back on the cap in time because apparently he grounded there. So that was super close. I did compliment the Montana as well as enemy Vermont. Was really played well there effectively at the end, but it was super close, uncomfortably, despite the ship lead and the points lead we had earlier in the battle. Giving us the expert efficiency badge with the high caliber, 8 citadels on the Kremlin alone, 466 secondary battery ribbons, with a grand total of 252,000 damage, which is going to net us on top of the team with 2,641 base XP, and on Montana there with 2,451 base XP, and the Shimakaze team doing really good, and the Vermont player doing really good as well. So we also complimented the Vermont player. So going to the post-battle results, one of the things that helped us to get a lot of damage was, you know, we did 8 citadels to that Kremlin. There you see 97,870. Armor piercing was 69,000 damage. I have 13 AP shells fired, 104,000 damage on the Dutch battleship St. Vincent paste, copy paste, 32,000 on Des Moines. We took over 200,000 damage between our heavy repair teams and also utilizing the heal that was ticking for us via the arms race buffs. So it was a really close game, all said and done. We did our job in the sense of cleaning, like taking out all the enemy ships on our flank. We probably, you know, 2 critiques I would make of myself. We probably traded too many hit points with the Des Moines, but I was really trying to bait the Des Moines to stay out and hoping our Wisconsin could clap him, which eventually he did kill him, I think. Was Wisconsin that took him out when he had little hit points left. Because I was really trying to be willing to be a bit of a team player there to keep the Des Moines enticed to stay out from going back and behind the island. But maybe that wasn't the best decision, all said and done, because then we lost the hit points for our engagement with the Dutch battleship at the end, and we died. Kind of game was bugging out there, didn't really know what was happening. And then the second critique is I should have just hung on to my torpedoes with the Kremlin. So a lot of players will end up trying to go for the ram in that situation. So I thought the Kremlin would go for the ram. I guessed wrong. So we didn't have it to help us finish the kill here in addition to the 8 citadels, because it's more chancy when you hang on to the torps there. But it's like a confirmed you will take that ship out in addition to having 8 320mm guns with armor piercing loaded. So those are the 2 points I played it. Second point in particular, critique to self, but as long as we're angling our armor and using these heals, using the heals we're getting from the arms race mode, it wasn't too difficult to play this ship because a lot of it is just the secondaries. The fact we farmed over 100,000 damage with secondaries, and then over 100,000 with the main battery between sap and armor piercing. So it's still absolutely disgusting of a ship. Doesn't require a lot of effort to play, and really the weakness to the Varese is sap from like Venezia's, Colombo's, Gloria's, submarines, aircraft carriers, and then other ships that maybe have strong gimmicks that makes it difficult to deal with. Like if we hadn't ate as much, damage there from the Dutch battleship from the airstrikes, we probably been okay. But in this day and age, every ship has to have a gimmick for the game to be maybe more balanced, and we're getting to the point that the game's just really not balanced anymore. So anyhow, that being said, hope you liked today's video. I plan to have a video this coming week for Veteran Player Guide series or Intermediate. I'm not sure which 2 it will be. So look for that to come. But if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.